Thank you for tuning in to the Behavioral Wealth Consulting Podcast, where our mission is to help you change your behavioral decisions by improving your financial literacy. If you want to live a more fulfilling life and get on track towards your long-term financial goals, it requires changing behaviors, developing a plan, and prioritizing your financial decisions. Now to your host and certified personal finance consultant, Richard Maricut.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today on episode 10. I am your host, Richard Maricut, where my goal is to help you change your behavioral decisions by improving your financial literacy. Before we get started today, just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This information is for educational purposes only and not intended to be financial or investment advice. Always consult with your own financial consultant before making any financial decisions based on your personal situation. So for today's topic, we're going to go over financial literacy and the importance of that. What is financial illiteracy epidemic? Well, the President's Advisory Council on the Financial Literacy said that financial illiteracy is not an issue unique to any one population. It affects everyone, men, women, young and old, across all racial and socioeconomic lines. No longer can we stand by and ignore this problem. The economic future of the United States depends on it, quote. Another study done by Bank of America indicated that 81% of Americans said that they don't know how much money they'll need to fund their golden years or retirement years. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping people improve their financial literacy. The fact that we can go through most of our adult life and not know how much money we need to live once we get to our retirement age is pretty scary, right? What happens when you get to your retirement age and where you can't work any longer? You've worked, 40, 50, 60 years, and now you can't. That income stops, right? So how will you maintain your livelihood, right? And that's something that most people don't think about, and unfortunately sometimes until it's too late. So the fact that 81% of Americans don't know, that's a statistic that we definitely need to drive down. And my goal is to help improve everyone's financial literacy to make sure that they understand that they can make impacts and educate themselves on the way how. A second study done by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said that 46% of the respondents said that they either could not cover an emergency expense of $400, or if they could, they would do it by selling something or borrowing some money. So what do you think typically happens in these cases where someone can't cover an emergency, right? That's when most people will just default to charging it and go further into debt. And once you get into, this type of situation, the debt typically snowballs. And it's hard to put a stop to it, and it just becomes easier to feed the debt with just more debt, right? And that's typically the driver that causes people to feel overwhelmed and, feeling helpless and not being able to get out of that hole. And lastly, 31% of adults report that they have no savings. This was reported by the Harris poll. And what typically happens in these cases is that most people aren't earning enough money. And even when they do earn more money, because they're not managing it, the lifestyle creep just follows them. And they end up just spending more money on things that they really don't need because they're able to. And then this is why most people find it hard to save and or to invest. They feel like they don't have any more money, but what typically happens is that they don't put their money to specific use and end up just adjusting their lifestyle to the increased money, therefore always feeling like they're living paycheck to paycheck. Now, with me being a father of three girls, I can tell you one of the things that I'm really trying to do is create a new generational wealth cycle by openly discussing finances, stocks, and just the overall importance of financial literacy with my family. I think that's a topic that most of us avoid, either because we don't know enough about it. And just in general, finances is a difficult topic to talk about regardless of age. According to the American Psychological Association, nearly 2/3 of Americans, or roughly 62%, are stressed out about money. I'll tell you, looking back at how I handled my finances in most of my 20s, I'm surprised that I was able to get into my 30s without bringing on a lot of debt. I just had no appreciation for money and just literally spent as soon as I earned it. But for most people with family, not being able to provide some of the basic necessities because of money or the lack of money can definitely stress you out. But once I started to understand the language of money and the game of money, how to make it work for you, my worries of money started to go away. And it started to shift more from a worry state to more of a strategic state, where I now was looking at money as a tool to help create more money, not wondering when or where the money was going to be coming from. And I think that shift in mindset is what a lot of people go through life not understanding the ability to do. But when you figure it out and start understanding the strategy of it, it really just changes the dynamic of it. This is because I changed my outlook on, the traditional 9-to-5 job being the only way to earn income. Once you educate yourself on things like the 401ks or 403bs, Roth IRAs, stocks, dividends, and even just the side hustles, the negative power of not knowing when your next income or paycheck just goes away. And I truly believe that the ability to change your behavioral decisions can be done by mostly anyone, regardless of age and your current financial status. So if you're listening to this podcast, and maybe you're now in your 30s, 40s, or maybe even older, and now facing the reality of your financial future, I believe that a lot of people, including myself, sometimes you'll go through a series of events or a significant event in your life that it's kind of like the uh-oh moment, right? Where you realize you have to make changes. And for some people, it's, coming down and seeing how much debt you've gotten into. You might be faced with a situation where you're now not able to afford something. You get behind on payments, whether it's credit card, mortgage, or just anything having the ability to pay. And when you have these moments, it can truly be eye-opening, and sometimes it's a shock factor, and a pretty significant shock factor, that makes you realize that you have to make changes. You may be wondering, how did I get to this point? How did I get to this point where I'm carrying thousands of dollars in credit card debt? I'm falling behind on payments. I'm unable to save for an emergency fund. Well, here are some common reasons that typically get people to the point where they need support. First is that they do not clearly define how much money they need to live, and the lifestyle that they desire, right? And this is because sometimes we go through the motions of just spending without really understanding how much we spend, what we spend it on, and separating the needs and the wants. Second thing is lacking a clear financial plan. Again, going back to my point earlier about most Americans not knowing how much money they need to live during their retirement years. This is we're not having a clear financial plan. And the financial plan can also come into play when you're, trying to get out of debt. You just say, I'm going to get out of debt. That's not really a plan, right? So you have to figure out where are you going to get X amount of dollars? How much money is going to go towards the debt each month? How much more can you put towards each month? All right. So not having a clear financial plan often can cause an individual to get to the point where they feel like they're just overwhelmed. Third is that they don't have a trusted financial mentor, advisor, or coach. And this doesn't always have to be someone that you're paying. This could be someone that you just have observed that is doing things differently with their finances, having discussions, asking questions, right? So oftentimes people don't have this person that they can trust, and they feel like they have to do it on their own. The fourth is poor financial choices due to lack of financial knowledge. Now, we are definitely living in a time where, the excuse of not having the financial knowledge can really no longer be used. It's more whether or not you're going to put the effort into it. But you can go out on the internet now, on your phone, on your any mobile device, and find almost any topic related to finances that you could think of. Things that in the past you would have to probably pay, now it's for free. So with this one, it's more of your willingness to understand. You have to seek the knowledge, not that it's not available to you. Next one is the lack of confidence to make the necessary financial moves. Oftentimes people can recite back what they need to do. They just don't do it for a variety of reasons, right? So this is, again, one that once you realize what you have to do, tying it back to a clear financial plan, then you have to execute, right? So the lack of execution will keep you in a difficult financial situation. Next one is, making poor financial choices due to emotions. With the emotions, fear and greed often motivate most choices, right? So if you think about the times that you spent the most money, typically you were probably having one of those emotional feelings of fear or greed, right? You bought something because you wanted to be like this person, or you bought something because you thought that name brand item would make you feel better, right? So it's tied to the emotions. So the more you can control it, the better grip you'll have on unnecessary spending. Next is taking advice from the wrong people. Going back to the earlier point about not having a trusted financial mentor, oftentimes people are taking the financial advice from the wrong people. And sometimes these wrong people are family, friends, and people that are not in the well-balanced financial situation that you want to move into, yet you're listening to their advice. The next one is having a few problems that snowballed. Going back to my earlier comment about, taking one situation and resolving it by going into debt or charging. Once you realize how easy that is, it can create that cycle to continue to happen. And that's what I mean by snowball. It gets easier to charge, very little accountability, and you just keep charging, and then it snowballs. And then it gets to the point where you realize that you can't get out, or you feel like you can't get out. And that overwhelming feeling just makes you feel defeated. Again, going back, not having the support structure around you, you just allow that to continue. And then the next one is having unrealistic investment return expectations. Oftentimes when people have opportunity to invest either their money and or their selves into more education, they delay it because they're looking for instant gratification. And if there is no sense of instant gratification or instant return or the ability to make money fast, they avoid it. Right. So I think that, having unrealistic expectations, both financial and on personal investment, is something that you really need to think through. And again, it goes back to the emotions of money. And then the last one is having poor financial habits that developed at an early age. There's been a lot of studies that show that, most of your financial decisions, you often learn at an early age, definitely even before your teenage years. And it's typically also learned by those around you, family or friends. So again, if your circle of family or friends are not in the financial status that you want to be in, and that's what you grow up around, that's what causes us to often pick up those same patterns of behaviors that make it difficult for us to break. Now, when people often think about their financial situation, they normally just think about the ability to purchase things or how much money is in their savings or checkings. But in fact, finances may affect multiple things beyond just the money in your account. For example, finances can affect your health, right? I mentioned earlier, not having the finances can cause stress, worry. These things can often snowball into unhealthy coping behaviors. Next is happiness, right? Reports show that people who make less than $75,000 per household on average are less happy than those who make more. And for those earning above $75,000 in annual income, there is a smaller correlation between money and happiness. So again, money doesn't necessarily create happiness, and there is a thin line there, but it can put you in a different situation if you're definitely under or lacking. On the productivity side, studies concluded that people who suffer from financial issues are less productive at work, at home, and in their personal lives, right? Because your mind is focused on financial issues instead of what should be more important. Next is relationships. It's been said before that finances is a leading cause of divorce and can cause relationship strains. And oftentimes it's not the amount of money, but it's the thought process about money that can often lead to the relationship strain. Next is a lifestyle. People miss out on life experiences because of their financial situation, and sometimes people try to live life experiences by charging their, going on vacation and charging and going into debt, and that eventually catches up. That just goes back to living beyond your means. So again, this is one of those things that if you're not properly financially sound, it can definitely cause more of a ripple effect that will last years to come. Next is security. Being unable to afford important personal and financial safety measures. The well-being of yourself. The stress factor can definitely be real, especially again if you have family to take care of. And then the free time. People spend a lot of time working their way out of debt. It can be time consuming, can be overwhelming. And again, if you don't have a clear plan, basically all of your free time is either spent dwelling on it or trying to work your way out of the debt. So now, if you've gotten to the end of this podcast, I want to share with you what improving your financial situation can do for you. Some of the benefits that improving your financial literacy to improve your financial situation can do is create an independence and security. Allows you to feel more confident once you start seeing that your actions are working and you're seeing the benefits of it. It does create that independence feeling, the security. It also helps you live your desired income, right? Once you understand how much you need to live and you're changing your financial situation to get there, you're now able to shift your lifestyle. It also gives you the free time to spend your days doing what you most enjoy, right? So the point that you get to that financial freedom and you're actually able to enjoy your days, that's definitely a benefit. It allows you to stay focused on your job, your mission. Definitely has a larger impact on your family. It provides the ability for you to help the loved ones in time of need. And then let's face it, it allows you to enjoy some of the materialistic things, right? Whether it's ability to travel more, purchasing things for family and friends, the things that you worked hard for that was one of the reasons why you put strategies in place, whether it's a larger home for the family, all types of things. You want to reward yourself, but you want to be able to make sure that you're doing that once you've been able to control your emotions on money in order to make the best financial decisions. So that's it for today's podcast. If you enjoyed today's session, I'd appreciate you giving me a positive rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It does help me get the message out to more users to help improve their financial literacy. And for more information about my services, please visit behavioralwealthconsulting.com. And if you'd like to hear about a specific topic on future episodes, please email me at behavioralwealthconsulting@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Behavioral Wealth Consulting podcast. For more information on how we can help you design an effective financial strategy through behavioral changes, visit us at behavioralwealthconsulting.com.